Here's a simple salad. It starts with thinly sliced cucumber, diced red onion, sugar, rice vinegar, and salt, and cracked or freshly ground black pepper. Toss these ingredients together until the sugar dissolves. Then you can transfer the salad to a serving bowl. So what are some things you can do to take your grilling to the next level? Well, 1, try grilling the entire meal on the grill. 2, try grilling something you never thought you could grill. Finally, remember, grilling is performance art. Stand in front of your grill confidently and comfortably, and let the flames begin. Here's another cool idea. Indonesian long beans or green beans, blanched in salted water, tied off with scallion greens. Simply brush these with a little sesame oil. And sprinkle with sesame seeds and salt and cracked black pepper. Quick brush and oil of the grill grate. Remember our good grill hygiene. And quickly grill the long bean bundles. And you can brush the tops of the beans with a little more sesame oil and sprinkle with sesame seeds. Our beans are ready. They look great. You can see the grill has actually toasted the sesame seeds. Is there anything more beautiful than grilled vegetables? I have always grilled, and when I used to live in Boston, I would chip the ice off of my grill in February and go out and grill. But it wasn't really until I started doing research for my first barbecue book, and I started traveling around the world to see how people grilled in other countries. I like to look at what's done traditionally and then figure out how can I combine those elements to deliver even more flavor. How about barbecued onions? Here's how you do it. Start with a Vidalia or other sweet onion, and through the root end, make a cone-shaped incision to create a cavity. Then, step number 2, make a shallow slice and peel off the outside layer. I first saw this dish at the Memphis in May International Barbecue Contest in Memphis, Tennessee. Barbecued onions are made in Italy, South Africa, all over the world's barbecue trail. Step number 3. This is a mixture of sautéed chopped onion and bacon, or pancetta. We're using pancetta. It's cured like prosciutto, but it's actually made from the cut that would give us American bacon. The last step is to make a depression in the filling and spoon in your favorite smoky style barbecue sauce. This is the lemon brown sugar barbecue sauce, and the recipe is on our website. And last of all, a pat of butter. Pretty easy. Now, to cook the barbecued onions, I've set the grill up for indirect grilling. Place the onions to be barbecued on the grate, over the drip pan, away from the direct fire. Now, all you need to do is cover the grill. Remember, you want these vent holes open wide so you get good draw of smoke. And does this look correct? No. You want to have the vent holes positioned between the two mounds of fire so the smoke is drawn up evenly over the onions and then out the vent hole. Cooking time, about an hour to an hour and a half at a medium temperature. That's about 350 degrees. You want to cook the onions until squeezably soft. It's been about an hour and a half, and the onions look beautiful. Again, we want to check for doneness. And I like to serve them right on the rings. Barbecued onions with pancetta and butter, something cool and different to serve on the side. Grilling may be a great way to cook shellfish, but lobster poses a particular challenge. It has a tendency to dry out. So this recipe features two techniques to keep the lobster nice and moist. First of all, we actually grill it in the shell, which protects the meat from the heat. Second of all, the lobster is basted with a mixture of butter, lemon juice, and ginger, again, which helps keep it moist and gives it a savory crust. Nothing says luxury like lobster, especially when it's served sizzling hot off the grill. Our next dish comes from down under, Moreton Bay bugs, grilled with ginger mint butter. A Moreton Bay bug is a clawless lobster, similar to a Florida lobster or Caribbean spiny lobster. The first step is to cut it down the back using sturdy scissors. Next, cut through the tail meat to, but not through, the soft bottom shell. Then open the lobster tail like a book. This is called butterflying, and it maximizes the surface area of the lobster exposed to the fire. Then brush each cut lobster tail with melted butter or extra virgin olive oil. And season with coarse sea salt and cracked or freshly ground black peppercorns. The next step is to make the ginger mint butter. Melt salted butter in a saucepan and add chopped fresh ginger, chopped fresh mint, grated lemon zest, and finely chopped garlic. Place the pot on your grill's side burner and cook until the ginger and garlic are fragrant. Then add freshly squeezed lemon juice and Asian fish sauce or soy sauce. Simmer the basting mixture for another minute and turn off the heat. Set up the grill for direct grilling and preheat it. I'm warming up here. Preheat it to high. And as always, before grilling, clean the grate with a few strokes of a stiff wire brush and oil it with a folded paper towel. Dipped in oil and drawn across the bars of the grate. This prevents sticking, of course, and helps give you well-defined grill marks. Now take the lobster tails and arrange them on the grill, cut side down. Cook the lobster tails for about 6 or 8 minutes on the bottom, and to speed up the cooking, you can close the grill. After 3 or 4 minutes, give each lobster tail a quarter turn to help them cook evenly. Once the lobsters are brown on the bottom, turn them over. Start basting with the ginger mint butter. And if you ever want to impress your company, just strip a little butter on the grill and you'll get a dramatic flare-up. And again, you can close the grill to speed up the cooking time. Total cooking time on these lobster tails, about 10 to 12 minutes. You can also grill Maine lobster in this manner. The procedure is a little bit different. Cut the lobster in half, take off the claws. You want to start cooking the claws about 2 minutes before the body because they take longer to cook. Then pour off the juices, baste the cut lobster with melted butter, and start grilling it cut side down for about 2 minutes, then turn it over, cut side up, adding the juices back. This will keep the lobster nice and moist. I think the lobsters are ready. To check for doneness, use the old poke test. They should feel firm to the touch. Just before serving, baste one more time. And with the lobster, here's a mango pineapple salsa. The recipe's on the website. So there you have it. Grilled shrimp cocktail, drunken sailors, Morton Bay bugs with ginger mint butter. It's shellfish on the Primal Grill. See you next time. Grilling is one of the best ways there is to cook shellfish. It's certainly one of the most ancient and widespread. Think about a South Carolina oyster roast, or a New England clam bake, or the grilled oyster served in Tomales Bay, California. All rely on the high, dry heat of a fire to bring out the succulence of a shellfish. Baby backs on the rotisserie, a new twist on ribs. Spit roasted duck, less fat, more pleasure. And a spectacular rotisserie prime rib. It's prime rib cooked to a turn. Rotisserie grilling guaranteed to turn heads. I'm Stephen Reichman, and from the beautiful Tubac Golf Resort in southern Arizona, it's time to grill. Are we listening when you write into the barbecue board? You bet. And one thing you ask a lot is how to improve your rotisserie skills. When it comes to moist meats and a crackling crisp crust, few things can beat spit roasting. Get ready for a crash course on the rotisserie. Baby back ribs are a dish perhaps you never dreamt you could spit roast. I first saw the preparation in the Latin Quarter in Paris, where a rack of baby back ribs had been seasoned simply with herbe de Provence and salt and pepper, placed on the rotisserie. The beauty of the method is that gentle rotation basted the ribs and melted out the fat. They were incredibly crisp, but the simple seasonings meant this dish was all about the flavor of the pork, not the sauce. You know about indirect grilling and smoking ribs. What you may not realize is how terrific they are when spit roasted on the rotisserie. If you've never had a spit roasted rib, you're in for a revelation. And it all begins with a rub. Salt, cracked black pepper, sweet paprika, brown sugar, onion powder, garlic powder, fennel seeds, and cinnamon and ground cloves for sweetness. Mix the ingredients for the rub with your fingers, breaking up any lumps in the brown sugar. The ribs I picked are baby backs, each rack 2 to 2.5 pounds. On the back of a baby back rib is a membrane, the pleura, and you want to loosen it with a sharp instrument like the tip of an instant read meat thermometer, and then grab it with a paper towel and pull it off the ribs. Of course, you can ask your butcher to do this for you. Next, make a 1/2-inch incision between every 2 ribs. So that's 1, 2, incision, 1, 2, incision, 1, 2, incision, 1, 2, incision, 1, 2, incision. Then rub the ribs on both sides with our fennel seed rub. The ribs are now ready for skewering. Be sure to install the first set of prongs on the spit. Now insert the skewer through the first slit, weave the ribs back, then the second slit, then the third slit, then the fourth slit, and so on, until the rack of ribs is woven onto the skewer. And repeat with the second rack of ribs. Sometimes this is a bit of a struggle, but if you persevere, you'll have the ribs skewered as you need to. And add the second set of prongs. This also works well with lamb ribs. You're probably familiar with rotisserie grilling on a gas grill, but you can also do it on charcoal. Simply insert the end of the spit through the hole into the rotisserie socket and just rest the other end in the slot. And if you'd like a little wood flavor, toss a handful of soaked hickory chips on the coals. Now let me show you, we've set this grill up for classic indirect grilling. Drip pan in the center. All you need to do is switch on the rotisserie motor. To add an extra layer of flavor, spray the ribs with pineapple juice or your favorite fruit juice. Then place the lid on the grill and spit roast for 1 hour, spraying the ribs every 15 minutes. So what's the advantage of spit roasting baby back ribs? Well, first of all, the lateral heat and gentle rotation help melt out the fat and crisp the meat fibers. You wind up with a rib that has a very different texture than a rib that would be smoked or indirect grilled. And here's what the ribs look like after 1 hour of spit roasting. You can give them one final spray with pineapple juice. And how do you know when the ribs are cooked? Well, take a look. The meat has shrunk back by about 1/4 of an inch from the end of the bones. So take the spit out of the rotisserie and transfer the ribs to a cutting board. Loosen the first prong and pull it off. Slide the ribs off the spit. And you can see how tender spit roasting leaves the ribs. They're literally falling apart. And with the ribs, a pineapple ginger barbecue sauce. The recipe's on our website. So the next time you want a new twist on ribs, spit roast them on the rotisserie. Now, spit roasting is a great live fire method for two reasons. First of all, the slow, gentle rotation guarantees even cooking. No burnt spots the way you get when you're doing direct grilling. The second advantage is that as the food turns, it bastes internally and externally. So you wind up with food that's moist inside and supernaturally crisp on the outside. Prime rib may be the most expensive investment you ever make for a barbecue. But when you pull this bad boy off the grill, the kudos will make it all worth it. Spit roasting gives you the perfect ratio of moist meat to crusty exterior. And it all begins with this. This is a 2-bone section of a prime rib. See the bones here? It's just the right size for 4 people. I like to leave a nice thick cap of fat on the roast. That way, as it cooks, the fat will melt, basting the meat. The next step is to make the herb paste. Today I'm using fresh sage, chives, and thyme, but the choice of individual herb is much less important than the fact that you use fresh herbs. So place the fresh herbs in a food processor with finely chopped garlic, grated lemon zest, salt, cracked black peppercorns, and puree these ingredients together, adding extra virgin olive oil to make a thick paste. And here's what that herb paste looks like. Now, back to the meat. What I like to do is poke a series of holes in the surface of the meat, about 1 every 2 inches, going down about 1/2 inch. So when you spread the spice paste on the prime rib, you can actually force a little of it into the meat. When I graduated from college, I won a Thomas J. Watson Foundation Fellowship. Now, Tom Watson founded IBM. These fellowships were for a year's independent study abroad after college, only string attached. You could not do a conventional academic study at a university. I had done a lot of reading and writing about the Middle Ages in college, so I thought, why not write about medieval cooking? It was sort of one of those crazy ideas like my follow the fire idea that led me into the world of barbecue. But it turns out that medieval cooking was really very fascinating. And much like barbecue, it involved massive migrations of people and ideas and import of exotic foods. One of the nice things about working on a rotisserie is that you can cook the side dish at the same time. This one starts with fingerling potatoes and 2 heads of garlic broken into whole cloves. And it's important to leave the skins on the garlic. The skins keep the garlic cloves from burning. So drizzle the potatoes with a little extra virgin olive oil, and then sprinkle with your favorite Mediterranean herb mixture. Finally, a little coarse sea salt and cracked fresh black pepper. Just stir the potatoes and garlic to coat with the herbs and seasonings. The last step is to put the roast on the rotisserie spit. Okay, so put the first set of prongs on the spit and tighten the turn screw. Then skewer the roast crosswise, as you see here. and place the other set of prongs on the spit. Tighten the screw, and you're ready to spit roast the prime rib. We live in a world of growing homogenation. The same restaurants, the same coffee shops, the same chain stores selling the same merchandise are found on virtually every town in America, in every mall in America. Barbecue is some of the last truly indigenous, truly local food there is. And it's been important for me to travel around the world documenting authentic barbecue in places as far-flung as Indonesia, as Mexico, as Argentina. And to teach Americans not only how to prepare them here, but to appreciate them. I've got a couple of prime rib spit roasting. Here's what they look like after about an hour and a quarter. And let me show you a few things about the rotisserie setup. First of all, this particular rotisserie works by using an infrared burner. An infrared, it's a ceramic mesh that is heated by a propane flame. Also notice that I have removed the grates in order to allow enough clearance for the bones to rotate. Finally, the potatoes go in the drip pan, so you kill two birds with one stone. You collect all those wonderful drippings from the prime rib, and they actually help you flavor the potatoes and garlic. And you see, this is what one of those garlic cloves look like, and you actually just sort of nibble it right out of the skin. So to check for doneness, use an instant read meat thermometer. Rare roast beef would be about 125, medium rare about 145. And when you insert the thermometer, make sure you don't touch the turn spit, which will give you a false reading. Okay. And we are in business here. Another test, just like when you're cooking ribs, notice how the meat shrinks back from the ends of the bones. Now, take the spit off the grill. You can transfer it to a cutting board. Remember, the prongs and screws will be hot, so use a glove or mitt to remove them. Then we'll slide off our prime rib. Don't forget the potatoes. What happens as the potatoes cook here is that they absorb the garlic flavor and also the flavor from the meat juices. Totally incredible. Okay, I've let the roast rest for about 10 minutes. That will make them juicier, and I'll put this roast here whole, and I'll show you how to carve this one. Now, a lot of people like to remove the bones first, which makes the rest of the roast easier to carve. I love these bones. Sometimes they don't even make it to the table. So let's see how we did. Look how moist this is. And with this, you can serve a fresh horseradish sauce. The recipe is on our website. And I am hungry. I like these crusty end pieces. And here are some of the garlic roasted potatoes. Let me take a taste. It's prime rib cooked to a turn. I knew two things, and one is that grilling is the world's oldest cooking method, and two is that it's the world's most universal cooking method. So I thought if I traveled around the world studying how people grill, I would learn a tremendous amount about culture. Because grilling is more than a cooking method. It really says who we are. Duck is a challenge to cook, but rewards you with powerful pleasure. The challenge and pleasure lie in the bird's abundant fat. The best way I know to cook out the fat, crisp the skin, and keep the meat moist is, you guessed it, on a spit. And it all begins with a rub. Start with Chinese 5-spice powder and add granulated sugar, black pepper, salt, and cinnamon. Mix the ingredients with your fingertips, breaking up any lumps in the spices. Next, the duck. Turn it over and fold the wing tips behind the wings. Using a paring knife, make an incision in the fatty part behind the legs and behind the wings, and in each insert a sliver of fresh ginger, and fresh garlic. Remove any pockets of fat you may find in the main cavity. Sprinkle a little rub in the main cavity and insert some more fresh ginger and garlic. Then, using a piece of butcher string, fold the tail in and tie the legs together to give the bird a compact shape. Now brush the duck on all sides with toasted sesame oil. This helps crisp the skin and adds an extra layer of flavor. Finally, sprinkle the duck with the 5-spice rub. Continue brushing the duck on the back and sides with the sesame oil. And again, season with the 5-spice rub. Finally, skewer the duck on the rotisserie spit, pushing the prongs into the legs. Put the other set of prongs on top. Snug it tightly into the duck. Now let me show you how to set up this grill for spit roasting. This grill has 3 burners, front, middle, and back. So what you do is you light the front and rear burner and you turn the center burner off. Place a drip pan over the center burner and you'll notice I've taken out the grill grates to give the duck clearance to rotate. So simply grab the duck and feed the spit into the socket on the rotisserie motor. Make sure you're clear here. And switch on the motor. So the cooking time is about an hour and a half. Check the duck every 15 minutes. And as fat starts to accumulate in the drip pan, you can brush it on the duck. In order to become a food writer, which was always my dream, I realized I needed to have an actual hands-on culinary training. So I went to a newly opened cooking school called the École de Cuisine La Varenne in Paris. The year was 1975, the year that such young Turks as Paul Bocuse and Michel Guérard announced a revolutionary new style of cooking called La Nouvelle Cuisine. And there I was in Paris, right in the thick of it. "90 minutes later, and the duck looks delicious." Switch off the rotisserie motor and just ease the spit out of the socket, and we'll transfer the duck to the cutting board and remove the screws and pull out the prongs. Ease the duck off the spit. Oh, that was very easy. And the sauce looks ready too. So pour it in a serving bowl. And the recipe for the sauce will be on our website. I am definitely not a chef. I cook because that's part of my job description, but I really think of myself as a writer. And my job is, first of all, to help you understand barbecuing and grilling, to make you better at the arts of barbecuing and grilling. Now let me show you how to put this together. Start with either a Chinese pancake or a flour tortilla. Brush it with some of our barbecue sauce using a scallion brush. Arrange a few slivered cucumbers on top. And then carve some of the duck breast meat and skin. Look at that. And roll it up. Duck on a spit. Less fat, more pleasure. And that's the beauty of spit roasting, folks. It's really easy, great for fatty foods, and loaded with flavor. See you next time. My goal is to celebrate the human experience in all of its distinctive, quirky, local magnificence. Because people are faced with the same set of problems. How do I master a live fire? How do I take the ingredients that grow well here? Applying the sauce too early. And people everywhere have created these incredible grilled and barbecued dishes. It's really a triumph of the human spirit. Like, I don't know how to cut it. Pit roasted lamb, barbacoa Mexican style. It's the world of lamb on the grill. Yogurt and saffron marinated lamb chops. The combination of flavors will come as a revelation. Lamb burgers with goat cheese. Your notion of the hamburger will never quite be the same. 3 great reasons to love lamb on the grill. I'm Stephen Reichland, and from the beautiful Tubac Golf Resort in southern Arizona, it's time to grill. The statistics are in, and the winner is definitely not lamb. Americans consume less than 1 pound per person per year, but travel the world's barbecue trail, and on any given night, more pitmasters are grilling lamb than probably any other meat. To be an accomplished grill master, you have to master lamb. I first saw this dish at an incredible restaurant in Mexico City called Arroyo. And Arroyo is so large it occupies a whole city block. It has its own bullfighting ring. And the barbacoa is cooked in 4 gigantic stone pits at the back of the restaurant. In 1514, a Spanish explorer discovered a singular method of cooking. The Taino Indians of Hispaniola were smoke roasting wild game and fish on a wooden grate called a barbacoa. That's the origin of our word barbecue, not to mention our next dish, a Mexican chili-rubbed, pit-roasted shoulder of lamb called barbacoa. And it starts with a shoulder of lamb and a spice paste. To make the adobo, combine chipotle chilies, which are smoked jalapeno chilies, guajillo chili powder, oregano, onion, chopped fresh garlic, allspice, cinnamon, and salt. Puree the ingredients to a smooth paste, adding distilled vinegar and water. Of course, in the old days, these ingredients would have been pounded together in a mortar and pestle. Spread half the adobo over the bottom of a boneless lamb shoulder roast. This one weighs about 6 pounds. Then turn the roast over and spread the remaining adobo on top. Mexican barbacoa is a little bit different than American barbecue. First of all, traditionally it's made with either lamb or goat. Second of all, the lamb or goat is wrapped in some sort of leaves. In some parts of Mexico, they use maguey cactus leaves. In other parts of Mexico, they use avocado leaves or even banana leaves. This one is wrapped and cooked in banana leaves. So take the lamb roast and invert it so the fat side is down. Then bring the banana leaves over the roast. First this way, then this way, then this way, and this way, and secure the banana leaf with a skewer. Then place a wire rack on top of the barbacoa and flip it over. Don't worry if your banana leaves tear a little bit. That'll just let more smoke flavor in. Okay, the next thing that makes this dish so singular is that the lamb shoulder is actually roasted over a pan of soup, and the dripping lamb juices flavor the soup. It's called consommé, and it contains onion, carrot, zucchini, cabbage, rounds of corn, and bay leaves, and chopped fresh cilantro and epazote for flavor. Just mix these ingredients up. Now let me show you how to set up the pit. Barbacoa is a dish that's near and dear to my heart because barbacoa is the Spanish word that gave us our term barbecue. The year was 1516. The place, the island of Hispaniola, today the Dominican Republic in Haiti. And a Spanish explorer named, let's see if I get this right, Gonzalo Fernando Oviedo y Valdez, stopped here on a convoy that was bound for Colombia. Now, unlike most of his compatriots, Oviedo was actually very interested in the local culture, the local food, and he came upon a tribe of Taino Indians doing what would amount to a cookout on the beach. And they had rigged up this sort of gizmo with 4 logs, and there were wooden grates across the top on which wild game and fish had been placed to smoke roast. I'm cooking the barbacoa in an upright barrel smoker. And as you can see, I've loaded the smoker with about 12 pounds of lit charcoal and arranged it in this ring around the periphery. Next, add 3 or 4 chunks of your favorite hardwood. I'm using oak. Insert the cooking rack. Next, place the ingredients for the consommé in the center of the smoker and add water to cover. Finally, place the rack with the barbacoa on top of the consommé. Now what's going to happen is the lamb is going to smoke roast in the banana leaf. The juices are going to drip into the vegetables in the consommé and make a soup to serve with the barbacoa. So finally, cover the smoker, and the cooking time is about 4 to 5 hours. It's been 5 hours. The lamb should be ready. And it sure looks ready. We can use an instant read meat thermometer We're looking for 180 degrees. Bingo. Okay. So first, take the barbacoa off. And set it on a tray to rest. Then take off this consommé, which has been flavored with the lamb juices and the wood smoke. Now, you never want to cut into a smoked roast like this right away. Let it rest for 10 or 15 minutes. It will taste juicier that way. But we can start with the consommé, and the aroma is absolutely incredible. These heat-proof gloves come in handy for unwrapping the barbacoa. So let's see how we did. It slices beautifully. And check out this little smoke ring here. That's a natural chemical reaction when you cook meat low and slow in the presence of wood smoke. This lamb is really tender. Smoke roasted soup. And smoke roasted lamb. From barbacoa to barbecue, it's the world of lamb on the grill. Sometimes politics interfere with barbecue. When I did my first tour of the world's barbecue trail, I was unable to visit Iran. So I found myself Iranian grill masters here in the United States. And one of them showed me this dish, Persian saffron marinated lamb chops. The traditional marinade features yogurt. Many Iranian meats will marinate for 1 to 2 days. When it comes to grilling lamb, Iranians are world masters. They've certainly had practice. Lamb has been part of the Persian barbecue tradition for at least 5,000 years. In this dish, the lamb is marinated in a vibrant mixture of yogurt, saffron, and onions. The combination of flavors will come as a revelation. One of those flavors is saffron. Saffron is the world's costliest spice. It comes from an aromatic crocus. And to activate the flavor, you simply soak it in a little warm water. You'll see it will release an orange color. To finish the marinade, start with plain whole milk yogurt. Add finely chopped onion, about 4 cloves, finely chopped garlic, orange zest, that's the oil-rich outer rind of the orange, freshly squeezed lemon juice, salt, cracked or ground black peppercorns, and the soaked saffron. Now, for the lamb chops, 2 choices. I'm using loin lamb chops. You can also use rib chops. I like the loin chops because they're a little meatier. Finally, pour the remaining marinade over the tops of the chops. The only tricky part about this dish is remembering to marinate the lamb 24 to 48 hours ahead of time. In the refrigerator, of course. Before you start grilling the lamb, 2 final preparations. The first is a simple basting sauce. Consists of melted butter and more of your soaked saffron and a little freshly squeezed lemon juice. And with the lamb, I thought we'd prepare some grilled tomatoes and onions. So these are plum tomato halves. simply skewer them on these flat skewers, which keep the tomatoes from rotating or falling off. And brush the tomatoes with a little extra virgin olive oil. And season with dried herbs. This is a mixture of rosemary, oregano, and dried mint. And while you're at it, you can brush and season these baby onions. Now let's take a look at the grill. So I set up the grill for direct grilling and preheated it to high. And you remember we have a little rule whenever direct grilling, we keep it hot. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. We keep it clean with a few strokes of our grill brush. And we keep it lubricated, either with a folded paper towel dipped in oil or else a half onion dipped in oil and drawn across the bars of the grill grate. Grill the vegetables first, and the reason I do this is the onions take a little longer to cook than the lamb, and also grilled vegetables taste great at room temperature, whereas the lamb should be served sizzling hot off the grill. Then put on the lamb chops. The lamb chops grill for 4 to 6 minutes per side, and in the Near East, people like their lamb medium to well done, not rare the way we do here in the West. After a couple minutes, give each chop a quarter turn to lay on a crosshatch of grill marks. Meanwhile, when the tomatoes are brown on the bottom, turn them over. And you see by using these flat skewers, they don't slip. You should also turn over the onion. You're looking for it to be lightly charred too. So once the chops are browned on the bottom, turn them over. And at this point, you can start basting with that butter saffron basting sauce. The chops will cook for another 4 to 6 minutes per side. To test for doneness, we use the old poke test. Poke the meat. It feels firm to the touch. That shows us we're right at medium. So, don't forget the ends of these skewers could be very hot. Here are grilled onions and grilled tomatoes. The lamb's ready too. Saffron and garlic grilled lamb chops. It's a 5,000-year-old barbecue tradition. In North America, the most famous grilled ground meat dish is hamburger, of course. Well, as you travel the world's barbecue trail, very often the hamburger gives way to lamb burger, which brings us to these ground grilled lamb patties. Now, if you've never had a lamb burger, ground lamb actually has more flavor than ground beef. Our next dish belongs to a great family of grilled lamb recipes that includes azeri lula, Balkan kofta, and Turkish kebab. It's a cheeseburger with a difference, made with ground lamb and fresh goat cheese. Your notion of the hamburger will never quite be the same. Step number 1, the ground lamb. Try to buy lamb that's not too lean. I recommend a 15 to 20% fat content. Next, add 1 finely chopped onion, chop fresh parsley, dried oregano, chop fresh garlic, and chop fresh mint, which will balance the lamb's richness. Season the mixture with coarse sea salt and finely ground or cracked black peppercorns. Mix the lamb with your fingers. Combine the ingredients well. I've always found that your fingers work best for mixing. All right, now form the patties. This started as a log of goat cheese, which I cut into 1/4-inch slices. So wet your fingers, pinch off 1/4 of the meat, and form it into a patty, making a depression in the center with your thumbs. Next, place a slice of goat cheese in the center and bring the meat over the top to encase the goat cheese. Here's what the finished patty looks like. Now, you can grill the burgers right away, but they'll handle better if you refrigerate them for about an hour. While the lamb burgers are chilling, let me show you the sauce. It's a variation on Greek tzatziki. It starts with plain whole milk yogurt, diced cucumber, chopped fresh mint, and finely chopped garlic. Season with coarse sea salt and freshly ground or cracked black peppercorns. That's all there is to it. Lamb has a natural affinity for garlic. In keeping with the Near East roots of this dish, we'll grill the lamb over charcoal. And you know the drill. This is a charcoal chimney starter, and place a crumpled piece of newspaper in the bottom. The cylindrical shape of the chimney funnels the heat upwards, lighting your coals uniformly. Let me show you the grill. It's already loaded with hot charcoal. So, as always, we start by cleaning. And you can use your oiling towel to oil the bars of the grate to prevent sticking. Put on the burgers. And you know, one mistake I see people make is never press a burger. All you succeed in doing is squeezing out the juices. The burgers are ready to turn. And while the burgers are cooking on the other side, let's grill some pita. So brush the pita lightly with extra virgin olive oil. Watch the pita bread. It burns really quickly. It's just a few seconds on each side. You know, sometimes the fire's a little hotter in the center than the grill and on the sides, so don't be afraid to move the food around. Remember, barbecue is a little bit like dancing. You're always waltzing the food from hot spots to cool spots. And one very important thing, folks, whenever you handle raw meat, be sure and sanitize your hands before you touch the cooked food. Okay. So the burgers are cooked. You can feel they're firm to the touch. Great. And let me show you how to put this together. Slice of pita, a burger, slice of tomato, some red onion, and a spoonful of our yogurt cucumber mint sauce. Fold it over. From the Near East to the Southwest, it's a cheeseburger you won't soon forget. Barbacoa, saffron grilled lamb chops, lamb burgers with goat cheese. All great reasons to put more lamb on your grill. See you next time. Traditionally in the West, when we grill lamb chops, it's individually. That is, we place the lamb chops on the grill one by one, turn them one by one, take them off one by one. In Iran and in the Middle and Near East in general, lamb chops are often threaded onto a skewer and grilled on skewers, shish kebab style. First of all, this makes it easier to turn the lamb